Welcome to I'm Not Joking, the podcast where a behavioral scientist examines what it's like to live a humorous life. Glimpse into the lives of the funniest people in entertainment, business, and science as your host, Dr. Peter McGraw, explores their habits, motivations, and secrets to success. Get ready to fire up your brain and your funny bone. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to I'm Not Joking, the podcast that looks at the lives of funny people. I'm Peter McGraw. Today's guest is Donnie Lichtenstein. Donnie is one of my senior colleagues at the University of Colorado's Leeds School of Business. He attended the University of Alabama for his undergraduate degree in marketing and received his PhD from the University of South Carolina. He was an assistant professor at LSU prior to joining CU, where he has been since. He has taught a wide array of classes and has served as both the chair of the marketing division and in the school's dean's office. His main area of research is behavioral pricing, and in 2004, he was recognized with the Fordham Lifetime Achievement Award in behavioral pricing research. Welcome, Donnie.
Welcome. Thank you. I don't know that I'm your senior colleague anymore.
I haven't received any information, so technically you are.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'm your senior colleague anymore.
Okay. Well, you are senior to me.
Older.
Yeah. Wiser. So, Donnie, if you weren't working as a marketing professor, what would you be doing?
I would be a political pundit. How's that funny?
I guess on Twitter you do make some comments.
I follow politics, yes.
You don't talk about them in the office, though.
No, I don't. I'm not that politically active. I just like the game. I watch politics all the time.
Okay.
And I watch political pundits all the time. I watch political pundits on CNN. I watch political reporters. Political reporters, that's hard work.
Okay.
Political pundits, they sit back
yeah,
and people ask them their opinions. So I want to be paid to sit back and have people ask me my opinions.
Yeah, I get that. Do you find it, obviously politically things are pretty charged nowadays.
Right.
Do you find the theater more like interesting and entertaining, or do you find it more upsetting, or both?
Until 2016, I found it just entertaining.
Okay.
And I loved the strategy. I'm not politically active.
Uh-huh.
I like the strategy and the positioning and the gamesmanship in politics. 2016 kind of changed things, and there are no rules anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I thought about the way our government worked is thrown out the window.
I see. We need more pundits.
Yes.
Just weighing in.
I want people to ask me my opinion.
Well, guess what we're going to do for the next 45 minutes?
I hope we have an audience.
There are officially listeners nowadays. So when I first launched this, I was like, if I have listeners, I know I have listeners now.
Okay.
So you're not a political pundit.
I'm not a political pundit.
And so you're actually back down in the dean's office these days.
Yes, I'm filling in for 6 months while our real associate dean is on sabbatical. So I'm hanging in there for 6 months.
And how's that going?
You tell me. I
haven't noticed a change.
If I grade me, I just give myself a good grade.
Okay.
And if I don't ask other people, then it stays that way.
Okay, so you're down in the dean's office temporarily.
Correct.
You're teaching like a basically intro to marketing course these days.
I teach the intro to marketing course, and then about a year ago, they asked me to teach a PhD seminar kind of outside my area, to say the least, in marketing strategy.
Yeah, and so how's that going? So you've done it once, and you're prepping it your second time.
Yeah, it was really...
Well, tell the audience what it means to teach a PhD seminar in marketing strategy.
Well, when you teach a PhD seminar, you're teaching PhD students about the research in an area. And typically, faculty teach PhD seminars in areas where they conduct research. So they've published in the area, they've had a lot of insights and made contributions in that area.
So I teach the judgment decision-making seminar here. And one of the nice things about it is I get to assign my own papers at times. And Boy, that's an easy class to teach.
That's an easy class to teach. It is, but it's good for the students. The students really benefit from having people who have published in the area and have insights in the area teach the class. We didn't have anybody in marketing strategy, but there were a group of faculty here. Well, one, John Lynch, kind of who says what people are going to do. He volunteered me to teach a PhD seminar in marketing strategy, and I didn't have a background in the literature, so it was very good for me because I'm learning right alongside the students, and I borrowed syllabi from people who were experts in the area and got a lot of help. So
one thing I noticed that you did, which has actually inspired me with my most recent courses, you actually brought in some of these elite teachers to kind of do a guest session.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I offer to fly them in, put them up, and they assign the papers ahead of time, and I'm just like one of the students in the class reading the papers and having the guest lecturer lead the seminar. So it's really good for the students, especially now, given my lack of background in the area. But I think the second time I teach the course, I'll be have a lot more idea about what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, you know what? I think that's always the case.
Yeah.
Whether it's even if it's teaching an undergraduate course,
Correct.
That's sort of new. I did something slightly different. I use like Skype video calls, and I would assign a paper and then invite the expert to come in. And one of the things I did was I had some of our alums, so I actually had some of our PhD students who have graduated. I think it's good for the students to sort of see where they could be in 10 years.
Exactly.
Kind of a thing.
2 of the 3 people I invited in got sick or had conflicts, so I ended up did end up Skyping 2 of the 3 in, but I'm teaching in the spring again, and I'll invite 3 more in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might have to buy them a ski pass.
I might have to.
And then you're obviously still active in research.
Trying to be.
And how much of this work is, so what is behavioral pricing, and how does one win a Lifetime Achievement Award for their contributions?
Let me take the former question. Let me take the question. The first question: what is behavioral pricing research? When consumers encounter price, they just based on a bunch of contextual factors and background factors, they'll perceive that price either favorably or unfavorably, given the format the price is in. Is it in deal form, not a deal form? What is their what other products do they compare that price to in deciding if it's a good deal or not a good deal? Are background factors, are consumers deal prone or are they not deal prone? What makes them deal prone? When consumers see price, do they infer quality? Do they infer quality from it all the time? Are there factors that say, for these types of product categories, I think higher price means higher quality. For these type, I don't. How much are consumers likely to rely on a price to indicate quality in the presence of a strong brand name or in a weak brand name? So those types of questions. How does one win a Lifetime Achievement Award? You pick a very narrow area where there's not many other people doing research in the area, which I did. You become one of the earlier people in it, and you get lucky, but choosing a narrow area has everything to... There are awards that are big-time general awards. If you go to ACR and you're a fellow, that's a lot of people they choose from.
So that's the Association for Consumer Research. There's a couple thousand people who go to the conference, and there's probably twice as many research easily, right?
Yeah. So if you get recognized with that, you get recognized that way, that's huge.
I see.
In behavioral pricing research, there's me and my friends who do behavioral pricing research.
Okay.
And so if you get that award, it's nice, but it's not on the I've kept it in perspective. Let's just put it that way.
So I want to ask you a little bit more about this, because I want to ask you about behavioral pricing in specifically. So one is, you seem like the kind of guy who studies what he cares about.
Exactly.
Like you seem like a guy who's deal prone, deal focused.
Oh God, yes. And the thing is I love a deal. And even if it's a fictitious deal, it catches my attention and I have to physically pull myself away and go, that's not really a good deal. They're just trying to make you think it is. But still, it's like it's in your blood. It's like knowledge doesn't protect you from, knowledge is not a defense for things that are just innate in you.
And why are you, I mean, look, I know that in general people are deal prone because we are sensitive to reference points, and we naturally, one of the things that the work that you do talks about, this idea of transaction utility, like you get a good feeling from getting a deal, your emotions are involved. But so in general, people have that, but why are you very high on those things?
That's a great question. Where does it come from? Many years ago, I did this study that never went anywhere. I think it was rejected by all the top journals and even some that weren't so top, where I looked at relationships. Did surveys, parents' perception, deal perceptions of price, quality relationships, and I had them paired with their kids to see if there was a correlation between parents and the kids. It didn't find too much. It's probably why it didn't go anywhere. But I've often answered that question, where does it come from? Why do I care about getting a deal more than the next person? And that's such a great question because I don't have the answer to it. I remember, my dad liked clipping coupons.
Okay.
And I said, well, am I more prone to like clipping coupons because my dad did?
Yes.
And so that was kind of what got me going in that area of research. I didn't find that strong of a relationship between parents and their kids being deal prone, but I don't have a good answer. But it's something I've thought about before.
So I want to ask you about this because I can certainly imagine, and I had this happen myself. I came from a pretty modest background, was kind of making my way on my own very early in life, and I remember at one point when I was a graduate student, I remember like this sort of simple living movement kind of bubbled up to the surface. There were a bunch of books about it and so on. And so I went to the library, of course, to get the books. I didn't go to a bookstore to buy the books. I went and got the books. And I remember like eager to find out the secrets to squeezing more life out of my modest income. And I was like, I read the books and I was like, oh, they're missing a whole bunch of of good ways to make their way. Like I had already sort of naturally found all those, call them opportunities, and kind of thing. But then now, money is less of a concern, obviously. Like, I have a steady paycheck and so on. And so I've had to kind of at times work to unlearn those tendencies. And I have found it difficult to do because you spend 40 years of your life learning behaviors and perspectives, and trying to unlearn those is hard. And I'm curious because you're in the same position as I am. You've got a steady paycheck. You don't need deals.
I hear you. I totally hear you. I had this conversation not long ago. I was on the highway, and there was traffic, and you can avoid the traffic.
Oh, the toll road.
Oh, go on the toll road. It's going to cost you like 75 cents or something like that. And 75 cents is nothing, but the idea of paying to drive in a different lane is alien to me. And you're so right about trying to, if you grow up, I grew up very middle class and didn't have the, many of the extras. I'm not poor mouthing. I always had what I needed. But the idea of 75 cents, to ride in the lane, 75 cents is nothing. I throw it away. I spend it easily all the time. But to drive in a lane where that seems alien to me, and I catch myself saying, it's 75 cents. You'll never miss 75 cents.
Yes.
But I hear what you're saying. I agree with you totally.
Yeah, I think that's a really fascinating. It's difficult to study, obviously, but I have found it difficult myself to let go of some of those behaviors.
Totally agree.
And especially when they hold me back, right? So So, for example, tomorrow you're driving down to Denver in the morning.
Right.
Let me give you a pro tip. If you're going to use any of those toll lanes, use the final one getting into Denver.
Okay.
Because it may cost you $3, $4, $5. I don't know what it is, but like I-25 at 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning can be a parking lot.
$3? No.
Well, I hope you're on time to introduce me.
I thought you were going to say 75 cents, and I was going to go back to my office and figure out if it was worth it or not. $3, I can tell you right now, I'm going to sit in traffic.
What if I gave you the $3?
I'll put $3 in my pocket and I still sit in traffic.
So you're a lot worse at overcoming this tendency than I am.
I am cheap.
How many rolls of toilet paper do you have in your basement?
I wasn't too bad on the toilet tissue. I go to Costco and get the mega pack, and living alone, no women around, that can last a year,
But I'm going to come back to this in a moment, but I want to say this is like, you're not cheap top to bottom.
No.
Right? So, for example, you have dogs.
Yeah.
And so a truly, truly cheap person would never have a dog.
Well, moreover, their dog food costs more than my food.
Okay. So you have 3 dogs, 2 dogs?
Well, I have 2 dogs now.
You have 2 dogs. Yes. You've had 3 at times. You have 2 now.
Right. No, and I spend, the truth is, if I see a piece of furniture I like or something that's very expensive, I buy it.
Okay.
Because I'm very what I call quality conscious. I look at what I'm giving up and what I'm getting.
I see.
So I don't throw around money freely, but if it's something high end and I want it, I'll get it. But I don't do it, just without thought.
Got it. And so you're a big dog guy.
Big dog guy.
Yes. So where did that come from?
I had dogs as a kid and just didn't think about that much. But then in the late 90s, I got a dog, and boy, just bonded with, it's been over 20 years now, and just bonded with the dog and just thought, and it's almost like eureka, I get it. All these people who are dog people, now I understand what a dog does for you. And so I had 2 dogs, then I had 3 dogs, and when the day comes I retire, I'll probably have more. I have 2 right now.
Okay.
But they're such good company. Company.
I like to describe them as love machines.
They always want your attention and always affectionate.
Yeah. One of the things that really struck me, I had a dog as a kid, but I haven't had a dog as an adult. I'm a little more mobile than you are.
Right.
And I think it helps.
We're probably pretty much toward endpoints on that. I'm a homebody, and as I've gotten older, I have turned into such a homebody. And part of the reason I don't want to travel is the dogs. It's not like I got my lifestyle changed and I said, I can get dogs now. It's like I got dogs, and I said, I want to be home with my dogs.
Yeah, that's nice.
You have always been, you have, I was just talking to someone a couple of days ago, and I said, that's more Pete style, because you seem to travel and go in location A and work with somebody, location B and work with somebody. I'm too much for a homebody.
Yeah, and so to me, the idea of, I know sort of abstractly the value that a dog would provide in terms of affection and purpose and so on, but I don't think it would be fair to the dog, and I'm not, obviously I like having a good home base.
Right.
A good place to come home to and to be productive and to be healthy and so on. Right. One of the things that I thought was really fascinating was I met this researcher I was actually doing this thing about laughter, and I don't know why they invited this guy, but he does research on petting. And so one of the findings is that when a person pets the dog has an endorphin release, right? So it's very pleasurable for a dog to be petted. It's why they seek it out and so on. What's interesting is the person petting the dog also has an endorphin release.
That. Oh yeah.
Then the the evolutionary belief is that it's connected in some way to grooming. So, the way primates groom each other, and that both the groomer and the groomee both have pleasurable kind of response to this kind of thing.
I totally believe that because I get pleasure and the dog gets a lot of pleasure.
Yeah, and it's why, like, it's funny because you'll see people walking down the street with a dog, and someone will just walk up and start petting this dog.
Yeah.
Like, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I always thought that, like, where does that come from? Like, it's not even your own dog.
Oh yeah.
And that was really enlightening for me.
I like the innocence of dogs. All animals. I love all animals and their innocence. And they rely on us for just about everything. And even the ones that don't rely on us, if there are animals in the wild, they're trusting and open and just they have a lot of really nice qualities.
Unlike academics.
Unlike trusting, yeah, not so much.
So I just want to wrap up the pricing stuff for a moment. You had mentioned something about how in some categories price suggests quality, and in other categories it doesn't.
Correct.
I think that's a really interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are those, like, what is it predicts whether something's one of those categories or another?
That's a great question, and I looked at that many years ago, and it tends to be, as a generalization, it tends to be the case that price relates more strongly to quality for non-durables, paper towels, dishwashing liquids, things of that nature, than it does to products in the durable product category. In the durable product category, you say, well, what is it? That's a very tricky question because if you look, what I found is that if I looked and tracked over time within a durable product category, at one point in time, be a positive price-quality relationship in a product category. 2 years later, it might be zero or negative.
Okay.
The higher the price, the worse the quality. There's a lot of product categories that fall into that. Consumers generally ask, will I get more if I pay more? Well, that just looks at the correlation between zero, no relationship between price and quality, and a positive relationship. People don't really open up the other end of the scale
that's
mentally. That is it the case that if I pay more, I'll get worse quality? And there's many product categories where the relationship between price and true quality is negative.
Like, what would be an example of that?
Well, it changes over time. I'd have to go back and look, but because it's not stable. But there have been many, many studies. I did one back in the late 80s, looking at the relationship between price and quality. And I just did one with two of our other colleagues, Bart DeLange and Phil Fernbach, in 2016, where we looked at the distribution of price and quality across product categories, and a high percent, 20% had correlations, below zero, meaning the more I pay, the worse I get.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So the idea is that the theory is this: that consumers can't accurately assess quality, or they don't put in the search time to discern quality. Is a marketer better off putting their resources into quality or to promotions to promote quality?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, image.
Building brand.
Yeah, brand building, right. And, all the research on consumer propensity to search, consumer propensity to search is very low, even for very expensive product categories. So marketers have figured it out. If you're not going to search, I'm a profit maximizer, I'm going to put my money where I get the highest return.
Right. Yeah, I'm just having taught this JDM seminar, I actually assigned for the first time, I've always talked about the Herbert Simon work on bounded rationality.
Mm-hmm.
I actually assigned one of his papers for the first, 1957, the classic paper. He won the Nobel Prize for this idea, right? The idea that people are sort of cognitive misers, that they don't have the sort of calculation abilities that economists, say that they have.
Right.
They don't have the sort of processing ability. They also don't have the desire or motivation to maximize their choices enough, because maximizing a choice usually requires a lot of work.
It does.
And most choices aren't worth that much work.
I think these things are really fascinating. I teach a core marketing course to MBAs, and I do a section on pricing, of course, right? You have to. It's important.
Do you sign my papers?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Why am I here? Why am I here?
But I do, I'd say probably 3/4 of that lecture is focused on behavioral pricing.
Right.
I mean, I think they get plenty of economics prior to the course where they get the kind of standard, prescriptive, normative kind of thing. But really, I think it's illustrative. I think your case study is illustrative. That shows how people, right? The fact is that you don't need to be deal prone. You know you don't need to be deal prone.
Right.
Yet you have a hard time not being deal prone.
Fighting it all the time. And hopefully I've gotten better over the years where I say, no, I'm not going to buy that.
Yeah. Look, I think the issue is if you're happy, then it's fine, right? Like,
well, I'm fighting another thing, and I have a strong tendency to declutter, to get things out of my house.
Okay, yeah, I have that same thing.
And so, for the past several years, I have been saying, I don't want to bring anything new into my house.
Okay.
And so that has helped me quite a bit. I want my house to be kind of have a sparse look to it.
Yeah. Have you been watching the Marie Kondo?
I haven't. I was doing it before that came out. You know, except I think when my father passed away and you had to go, he packed up and saved everything. We had so much crap to get into, like, oh, God.
So you're doing this as a favor for the person who has to clean out your house when you die?
Exactly, yeah. Hopefully that's not anybody we know right now.
Yes, indeed. So you have proclaimed, these are your words, not mine, that you're not that smart.
I'm a blue-collar academic.
And and yet you've had a very successful career. I have my guesses as to why that's the case, but I want to hear your approach.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you take smarts and motivation, I'll take motivation over smarts every day because our business is one that's so much, you have to have a few good ideas, but and I do okay with ideas, and I'll work hard, but it's you know how long it takes to get revisions. Just the grind of it all. It takes years, you're talking years on a paper, and it's stick-to-itness. It's doing what it takes to get the paper in. And I'm gritty, and I'll get it done. I also have had great fortune of co-authors that are extremely smart.
Okay.
And fun and funny and fun to work with. This one of the things that I tell PhD students is this won't be as much fun for you because everything takes so long if you're not having fun along the way. Get co-authors that make you laugh. There's a correlation between humor and intelligence.
Yeah.
And so you can get smart co-authors that are smart asses. That's the best combination there is. And I'm not as smart as I am a smart ass, so I can contribute there. But no, I've had fantastic co-authors and continue to have. I have okay ideas, and I've got pretty good drive, although not as much as I used to have.
Well, yeah, I mean, but yeah, you still have it, right? You're still publishing.
Yeah, but so much of that, this is really, I enjoy. So much of that is the camaraderie of doing the research. It's the process now of, I'm in this department, and we have a really good department.
We do, yeah.
And of really smart people. And I look around, and I say, boy, these people are really smart. In order to have the camaraderie with them, you need to be part of a team. And part of the team here means, we're all trying to do research to raise the profile of our department. And so that the camaraderie is probably the biggest driver for me right now. There is.
Yeah, that what you said kind of mirrors what my guess is. Like, one of the things I've noticed you, we've been colleagues for a long time. Yeah, it'll be 15 years in June.
Wow.
We look exactly the same.
That's right. A beard, you got a beard going. And I don't like beards generally, but yours, I think, is working.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's getting decent reviews. I've had it since November or December now. So
how's your dating like?
Next question. Yeah, one thing that I've noticed about you, this is more from observing you in an administrative role, is like you're good about getting stuff off your desk.
Yeah.
So if something hits your inbox, you take care of it. Kind of, you're on, so there's this personality scale called the Big Five. One of the attributes is called conscientiousness,
Right.
which basically nowadays everybody calls grit. Right? So grit is the new conscientiousness. It's just been,
I know what you're saying.
it's just been labeled. It's just been better branded, so to speak. And so you're very high on conscientiousness.
I'm very high on conscientiousness and organization and things of that nature, which is very helpful for research.
Because research is basically, to make the parallel with marketing, it's basically product design. When you think about it, there's a process, right, from ideation
Absolutely.
to launch.
Right.
And it's a long one. It can take, if it goes well, it might be 3 years.
Right.
Kind of a thing. And so staying on top of it regularly, putting in the work, not letting things fall through the cracks, and so on.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I share your feeling about the camaraderie around doing research. Like, a lot of the tasks are very solitary.
Mm-hmm.
You're reading papers, you're analyzing data, you're writing, and so, but yet you're usually working on a team with at least 1 to 3 other people.
Right.
And it's those, I find it's the emails back and forth, an opportunity to have some wit, phone calls, meetings in the office, whatever that is.
Yes. There, talking about how you're going to respond to a reviewer's comment, laughing, talking about that, how stupid that reviewer is, although we're those reviewers that other people are saying are stupid.
Yes.
So all your colleagues are smart, all reviewers are stupid, but we all review.
Yes, that's
so
right.
How can that be?
And so, I actually think that this has sort of always been my kind of approach also, which is I'm just going to put in the time.
No, you're one of the smart ones. You're one of the smart ones.
I'll say that, thank you. I'll say my self-view, and this came out of like my undergraduate experiences and actually my athletic endeavors, was always just like, well, I'm just going to put in the extra work.
Right.
And that pays off, right? In a profession that, as you said, you need good ideas, but you also need to execute. And those things together matter.
Yeah. It takes all types in that. I almost didn't go into academics. I may have mentioned this when my major professor was trying to talk me into getting into a PhD program instead of a master's program. I said, oh, no. He goes, well, why not? I said, no. PhD, they're really smart. And he kind of laughed a little bit. He said, you can do it.
I see.
And finally I gave it, and I went through the program and got out. And I feel like I do have a role. Everybody doesn't have to be the smartest guy in the department or the smartest woman in the department. What you have to be is a good colleague.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to be productive and you have to be a good colleague. And that's what you want to be.
Yeah, so you have a story about before you went into academia, you had a job. You had a real job. And
I picked up a paycheck.
Yes, and at one point in time, your boss pulled you aside.
Yes, he did.
And told you that you're a disruptive force in the office.
Yes.
And so you're a funny guy, and being funny sort of requires breaking some rules.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, do you think the fact that, being a disruptive, you were younger, of course, but still, but that cheekiness, that impishness, I see still, many years later, right, that's not gone.
You test the boundaries.
Yeah.
You push the boundaries. What's appropriate to say and what's inappropriate.
So certainly I think academia has more leeway to be a disruptive force, right? It's, especially once you have tenure and so on, you have a little protection. Yeah, you have more that's one of the privileges of academia is the protection that you have, the autonomy that you have, and so on, and especially if you're getting your work done and performing at a high level.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, besides just having the freedom to be a little bit of a disruptive force. Do you think that tendency has benefited you, or is it something that you've been successful despite that disruptiveness, or do you think your disruptiveness at times has helped you?
I think it helps in a way because I'm a very social. You go to conferences. Let me give you a good example of this. One of our stars in our field is a guy named Chris Janishevsky, a real star.
University of Florida,
right? Real star,
faculty member.
And I met him at a conference, and it was, he's one of the biggest smartasses I know, and that I connected with him on. I found him funny. I laughed at him. He pushed boundaries. I think I do push boundaries, not as much as he does, but it's a social connection. You're drawn to similar others. You and I, in a seminar, we have a banter.
Yes, we do.
We have a banter, and when people come here, they like it. I know that. They love our seminars. You connect. Being that way connects you with similar others. It makes people feel comfortable around you. It's disarming.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had problems finding good I'm personal. I cut up with people.
Yeah, you're easy to get along with.
Yeah,
I
cut up with people quite a bit, and some of my co-authorships have been just because of that.
I see. Yeah, so it's
I don't think
bond.
Yeah, I don't think it's hurt me at all.
Okay.
The more important thing is it's me. It's who I am, and it makes me enjoy coming into school and knowing that I can be myself.
Yeah, I think I've always sort of believed you have to work.
Right.
So at the foundational level, you have to work in order to survive.
Right.
And I'll be honest, most of my early life was about surviving. And part of the reason I chose to be an academic was because of the stability of it all. It's a big bet to make, but if you land, you have some level of security and stability.
It's harder to land now than when I landed.
I think it's even harder than when I did. Yeah.
The people we're hiring now, I'll look at them and go, oh my God, are they smart? Thank God I have tenure. Yeah.
Hey, look, being early can be good.
That's how I got that award.
You and John Mellencamp, you just stay in the business long enough.
I got that award because the people now who are doing behavioral pricing research, they're smart.
I think, but beyond that, once your needs are met, there is this idea, I want to enjoy my life.
Right.
And how can I think, there are people who work to live, and there are people who live to work.
Right.
And I have become a live-to-work person. And it's because the work is creative.
Right.
It's enjoyable. I like the social aspects of it. Also, half of my friends are academics.
Absolutely.
And so that makes for a kind of more compelling lifestyle. And coming into the office, I like our seminars too.
Right.
I realize people are listening. This feels a little inside baseball to them,
right.
But so basically a seminar is you invite an outside speaker, and usually they give an hour and 15-minute academic talk. It's rife with questions and back and forth, pushing on these ideas.
Oftentimes they are hostile.
At a lot of universities, they're very hostile.
And what we have managed to do here at Colorado is make them very friendly.
Yes.
And part of that is how we interact with the speaker, but also part of that is how in the audience there's a lot of banter between the researchers here, making fun of each other.
Basically, Donnie makes fun of me whenever I ask the first question in a seminar.
You always ask the first question.
I want to ask you a few more questions about things. So you are my self-proclaimed life coach.
Yeah, I've claimed to be your life coach.
Yeah. So over the years, even when I'm not asking you for advice,
I give it.
Yes, right.
Exactly.
And I actually appreciate.
I like to give it publicly.
So you're going to have a chance right now, and it's being recorded. So I'm up for full professor right now, and
I'm in the dean's office.
Yes, right.
I've seen the results.
Yeah, well, yes, but I haven't seen the results.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. That's very nice. And so this is a threshold, and in academia, it's an interesting threshold because it's the it's the final stage. Right? So I could die now.
I hope not.
And, and I've sort of done everything that I've set out to do.
Right.
More or less. Like, when I use this, it's not a great metaphor, but I think about academia like being on a train, right? So, there's these stops along the way. You need to get into a program, then you need to pass your first year paper. Then there's all these milestones.
Right.
There's a lot of them very fast.
Right.
A very steep learning curve, very painful, and then you sort of settle into a career, and then you have these big milestones. So, getting your assistant professor position, getting tenure, and then now this final sort of stop, so to speak. But yet, there's still a lot of life to live and a long career and so on. As my life coach, what do I do?
That's a pretty easy question. You have had a lot of success, and you have a lot, be it in the classroom, you're one of the stars. You are a research star, and, you do all the service, that's asked of you, you make our university look good. After your sabbatical, when you come back, there'll be a time when you're going to be taking a leadership position, be department chair or associate dean, and you're going to have the real key, the real high is when you have a positive effect on those people around you. Do you make people around you better? Okay. And it's not, we are, for people who are coming up, riding that train up to the top, we're most interested in that you build your own equity, and you've been doing that quite nicely. And you're getting to be a full professor, and you're getting ready to take a sabbatical. When you come back, there's going to be opportunities for you to take formal leadership roles, and a huge high will be when the young assistant professors come to you and say, Pete, thank you so much for getting that done. It has made our lives better.
I see.
And so you, I think about the line in the Beatles song all the time. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. I think about that in terms of making other people, spreading the love, making other people around you better. And I have no doubt, for the audience, I've come to Pete before and asked him, about taking leadership positions because I think you've got the personality, the drive, and people, you resonate with people. So I think that is the next step for you, is that I'm gonna fill in for John, I'm gonna fill in for Laura, and then I want to step back and I want to see, you, because of your personal qualities. I think you'll be great at it, building a coalition and having, you'll be, the good things you have, you won't be keeping them to yourself. You'll be spreading them out to a larger group. And I think to me, that's been the most fulfilling thing, is when people think that you've done a good job in making others around you, the whole department, better.
I appreciate the advice. First time Sylvester did. And I thank you for, obviously you've done that for me when you were the chair during that time. And you haven't screwed up these 6 months as the associate dean, so thank you for that also.
Visibly.
You also you're a big self-deprecation guy. This should be obvious to anybody listening to this right now. You've also said that when you first started teaching, you were awful. You were just really terrible.
Oh, God, I was awful. That's actually not self-deprecating. It's highly accurate.
How, you're not awful anymore?
I hope not.
And so where has that improvement come from?
It's come from a few places. And I'll be quite honest with you because it reinforces what I just said to you. First, it came with doing it more and stuff like that. But it also...
As an aside, I think the average person doesn't realize how incredibly difficult it is to teach.
Time-consuming.
And depleting and so on.
When I was younger, I cared about research. Get the research. The research. That adds equity to your name. And as I got older, I put more time into research. But I really don't think I was as good, hopefully, as I as I might be right now. Laura Cornish, when we hired her, I saw her, and then we hired John, and I saw John Lynch, and I saw him, and I saw what they put into it, and how much they cared, and it was infectious.
I see.
So this is an example of affecting, I can be led by people younger than me, older than me. They can set a good example, but I was so positive.
Is John older or younger than you?
John's older.
Okay.
Laura's a lot. John's 3.5 years older. I'm a lot older than Laura. Laura and you about the same age, I think. She just turned 50. I think. I don't tell her. I tell her.
I think she listens.
But Laura had a huge effect on me.
Yeah, she's so, she's a professional.
Yeah,
I like to use that term. She is a professional.
She cares so much, and I have found teaching, it became almost self-fulfilling, in that the more I put into it, the more I got out of it. So in the last, I'd say 7-8 years, I hope I've taken my teaching to a new level. If I have, it's because, being around Laura and John so much that I go, I get it.
Yeah, well, we can look back at your evaluations and see if they've improved.
Listen, I'll tell you, if you really want to be entertained, look at the open-ended comments.
It's true.
I don't think you can say some of those on the podcast.
I agree with you in terms of, I think I took my teaching to the next level when I realized that the better that I could get at it, the more enjoyable it was going to be for me.
I think that's totally true.
When I'm having fun, now the students are having fun.
Right.
And so it's this weird circular thing, which is like you get better, then you get more comfortable and confident, then you can start having fun because you're comfortable and confident, then the students start having fun, and then they start to enjoy learning more, and then now they're enjoying themselves, so then you work even harder to make it better. It's circular. It is interesting how it can now you walk in the first day, you were a very good teacher. I did okay. All the students for all the podcast listeners, all the students like me. Well, unless I cold call them too much and embarrass them. But yes, generally. It didn't show up on your evaluation. That's good. So I always finish with the same question, and that is, it's a little bit different than what we've been talking about, but what are you watching, reading, or listening to these days that really stands out? It's not just good, but excellent. And you can't say Alabama football. No, watching, reading, or listening to. God, I'll tell you what I'm really into right now. These miniseries that CNN has been running. One's called The Bush Years. Okay. It's a 6-part miniseries on the Bush dynasty. I just watched one called Chrissy Dick. Okay. On the Nixon administration. I watched CNN had another one on Presidents at War, and it's about the presidents we've had and the roles they play during wartime. And you learn to, so I think that those things are truly excellent. That fits your political pundit, politics as entertainment. Yeah, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks in World War II types of things that I'm watching. Amazon Prime, I'm watching the 24-part series on the history of World War II. Okay. I find those things really interesting. As an aside, I'm curious if you've watched The Darkest Hour, the Churchill movie. Yes, I have. Yeah. I have, and I got to the Churchill Museum. Okay. When I was in London. That was one of my favorite places to go to in London. Was I didn't know there was. I mean, that makes sense that there is one. Yeah, but the underground bunker. Oh, that's in the movie. Yeah. The underground bunker is the Churchill Museum, and it's utterly fantastic. My father was in World War II for 4 years, so it's kind of I've always found World War II beyond being a tragedy, and all the people who suffered,
very nostalgic, had a very nostalgic touch to it, although my dad never spoke about it, other than the humorous things that happened along the way. I said, yeah, it's very striking. It's not that long ago, and I grew up the thing is, I grew up in the 60s, and to think, and I'm very conscious of that. I was born in 56, so the 60s are very and I go, but just 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier, this world was at war, in World War II, because as soon as you watch these videos, they're black and white, and it feels like a long time ago, but it was, I was just in Berlin recently, and I went to I can't remember the name of it now. I went to a museum that was in a bunker, basically like an oil road shelter for the local train station. Right. And it was 3-foot thick concrete walls. You can still see the places where it took shells and machine gun fire and so on. And it's so bizarre being in Berlin, thinking about, and Berlin is this cosmopolitan city, this young city. It's an international city. It's filled with startups and creatives and artists and so on. And it's just so fascinating that and hopefully never again. It's good. Hopefully never again. Don, I knew this would be fun, and I really appreciate you coming and doing this. And you always tell me how funny you are, and so you must be right, because this is a podcast for funny people. And here you are. You're very nice. You're very kind. Thank you. I appreciate the time. Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit petermcgraw.org for more information about our guests, show notes, and social media links. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with others. Join Dr. Peter McGraw next week for another fun, fascinating conversation on I'm Not Joking.